Okay, so welcome back. Let us continue with rigging. Next up is the wing. So let me just select on the wing asset and scroll down to solo it. Okay, so for the wing, you need to roughly understand the anatomy of a bird's wing. So if you were to draw a direct comparison with the human arm, let me select on the puppet position pin. This part, the root of the wing, would actually be your arm or your shoulder in this case, and then somewhere over here would be where your forearm is, click, and then over here would be the hand, and over here would actually be the finger. Alright, so we have something like this, 4 pins in total. Let me just go ahead and rename them. So this will be the, I guess, the feather, or wait, the hand tip. We can call them feather, it's fine. Feather. Then this is the hand. This is the lower arm. And this is the arm. Okay, so with the pins renamed, let's select all the pin, go to the links and constraints category, click on add pins, hide the layer control. Alright, and then shift this up and let us parent the pins correctly. So feather parent to hand, hand parent to lower arm parent to arm. Okay, next select the arm bone, rather arm pin, and select down the chain, click on bones under bird, click on the gear icon beside the wing, and we have the arm, the forearm, the hand. For the feathers, let's just set to 0, and holding down control, click on the wing. Okay, so this will set up the chain over here, and let us select the bone. So click on the arm and then the subsequent bones down the chain, and let's click on auto rig and hide layer controls. Okay, so this should spawn a wing icon over here, as you can see, and it also gives us some handy tools such as you can rotate the arm, you can rotate the forearm like so, you can do hand rotation, you can fold the wing, right? Fold the wing. Okay, so something like that for the wing rigging. So let us just unsolo it. Okay, to see the rest of the body. And right now I want to parent this arm, or rather this wing, so we can actually rename this, call it wing. Okay, and of course, to get it to work with the rest of the body, we will actually want to link it there or parent it there. So click on wing, click on this, and find your body, C body. Right, so we have this that controls everything. So when we move it up and down, something like that, right? Okay, so with the wings done, before we proceed with our facial controls, let us just do a quick save, and let us just tidy up this area because there's a lot of layers right now and it can get a bit overwhelming. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to only show layers that we need to see. Alright, so anything that is marked with a B or bone, in this case, we actually don't want to see this. So what we can do, instead of manually hiding it, right, we can actually use this feature called the shy feature in After Effects. Right, so let's select all the layers that have a B as a prefix. So these are all the bone layers. Okay, all the bone layers. Okay, and then let us click on this button over here, which is the shy button. So we click on this. It seems like it didn't do any, it didn't result in any change. The only change that you see is this icon kind of changing, you know. But what we can do is, after we have selected this, right, after we have toggled the shy, we can actually click on this hide all layers for which the shy switch is set. Okay, so this button over here, click on it and you will see that all the shy layers are hidden. Okay, and we can always click on this to review all the shy layers again. So the next thing that we want to shy is the IK layer. So there's this one IK that is not shy, so let's click on that. There's this other one, not shy, click on that. We would also want to shy all the P or pins layer with the exception of the belly, because remember we did not create a controller for the belly and we were planning to use the pin itself to kind of do the animation. So let's shy all this layer as well. Okay, and let us click on this shy button, and right now you can see that your timeline is a bit more clean, right? You only have the controller buttons or controller layers. We have this one belly pin over here. We have the rest of the artwork over here as well. Okay, so for the artwork, I will say that I will select all of them, and for now I will just lock it, because by right you shouldn't be moving your artwork. Okay, but later on we will then go on and unlock some of them. Okay, but that's for later. And then let us just make sure that all of our controllers are zeroed. Okay, so if I were to click and hold down the shift button and click on the last controller I have over here and press on P, you'll notice that all of these have positional values except for torso and hips too. Okay, so for that I can hold on my control and click to deselect these two because they are already zeroed. I don't need to zero them again. Okay, the reason why you want to zero them is because later on you might be moving them quite a fair bit and you may lose track of its original position. Okay, so let's go ahead and zero them. I can click on links and constraints, the third tab, and there's this button over here that says add zero. Okay, so I can click on this. It will create some null objects for me, okay, which is by default hidden away, so you don't really see it, but it's somewhere in the scene. Okay, and you can see that all these values are now zeroed. So like I mentioned earlier, sometimes, for example, you might be moving this around, okay, and then you kind of lose track of where it is supposed to be. Okay, but you can simply type 0, 0 here to reset it back to 0. So that's why you want to zero your objects. Okay, let's save it. You may also want to tweak this, so shift this icon out so that it is a little bit easier to select. Okay, so I can select this. One thing you notice is that once you shift icon out, right, you will notice that the transformation area is expanded, right? Somehow it's expanded. So what you can do if you want to clean up this part is, once again, you can select all the controller layers, and over here in the search bar, right, you can type in size. Okay, size, and you can select all the under effects anchor size. Okay, so let me just go ahead and select on this parameter over here for all of them. Okay, and just type 0. Okay, so you notice that the selection area is reduced. Right now it becomes smaller. Okay, so let us just scroll up, click on this, and just collapse it so that it doesn't take up so much space. Another thing that we can do to further clean up the scene is that we currently have all these bones that is kind of distracting, and we actually don't need to see these bones anymore. So we can click on this shy button to review the bones again, and let us just select all the bones once more. Should have done it just now, but I forgot. Apologies. So let's select all these bones. Alright, and then let us just hide them so that you don't see them. Actually, don't see them on the canvas. We can also go ahead and just lock them, right, for good measure. Okay, same thing for the pins as well. So just select all of them with the exception of the belly pin. Okay, we can go ahead and hide them and lock them. Okay, because we don't need to see them anymore. Okay, then let's go and click on the shy. Okay, so moving to the facial controls, I would try to keep it simple. While it's not always a good idea to animate directly on the asset itself, I think for the purpose of what we are doing, it is okay to do so. Of course, if you are in a production environment and your art director requires you to create a more detailed face rig, you should definitely, create separate controllers for each of these individual facial components. But in this case, for our assignment and also for this exercise, I think it's fine to just animate on the asset directly. Okay, but with that said, we do want a overall control for the face. Okay, so let us just first select on our mouth shapes. You notice that the pivot point is kind of somewhere, not centered to the mouth. So what we can do is we can press Y, okay, and just shift this to somewhere, I think it's the center, the middle of the mouth. Okay, something like that. And select another thing, okay, to confirm that. And then next, I would probably create a controller, overall controller for the face. Okay, so let us go to controllers, which is this hand icon, the 4th tab, and maybe just create this head controller. I know that we already have a head controller over here, but let's just use this. Okay, so because I've selected the mouth shapes, so when it created the new controller, it is also called mouth shapes. Okay, so let me just enter and just change it to face. Okay, and maybe I can shift it more over here. Okay, so more in the middle, and let's just go ahead and zero it as well. Okay, so we have this face, and let me select all the facial features and link it to the face, parent it to the face, and this face, let me parent it to the body. Okay, so now when we move this, it is also moving. Okay, last but not least, let me perhaps change this color so that it's different from this. Okay, maybe I can go with a red color. If I want, I can also make it slightly bigger. And observe that the position is also affected, so let me just go ahead and zero it. Okay, so now I have this, it's affected by this. Okay, and I can also move this independently, right? Okay, so the only two controls that we want to do is that for the pupil and maybe for a blink. Okay, so let us go about doing that. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we want to go under links and constraints, which is the third tab, and we want to click on this connector. We want to click on this gear. Alright, and under the options, the different types of connectors, we want to first do the eye, or rather the pupil, so that we can kind of control where Grumpy is looking at. So let's click on this 2D slider. Alright, so it will create a slider over here. Let's click on this, which will select the CBG or C background, and let us just move this to the side over here. We can also increase the size of this so that it is slightly bigger, like this, right? Okay, next we would want to select on our pupil, the eyes, and we want to press P for position. Okay, select the other pupil and press P as well. And importantly, you'll notice that the position values are tagged to one parameter, right? The X and the Y position value are tagged to this very same parameter, but we want to actually animate them separately. So what we will need to do is to right click on this parameter and click on separate dimensions. Okay, do so for both of the position parameter of pupil L and pupil R. Okay, next we want to go to frame 10. Okay, and create our keyframes. So let's click on this stopwatch icon next to X position, and click on the stopwatch icon for X position for the other pupil as well. This will create a keyframe on frame 10. Go back to frame 0, click on this small button over here, okay, to insert a new keyframe, and go to frame 20 and create a keyframe as well. So now we have 3 keyframes, one on frame 0, one on frame 10, and one on frame 20. Okay, so for frame 10, we can shift this to be somewhere in the middle. Okay, so you can hold down the shift key so that it is just sliding in one axis. Okay, if you don't hold down the shift key, you are also affecting the Y coordinate. Okay, if you want to, you can actually hide the brow so that it's a bit easier to shift. Okay, so over here, we want to shift it roughly to the middle of the eyeball. Okay, go back to frame 0. We want to shift this to the left extremity of the eyeball, something like here. Okay, and then for frame 20, we want to shift it to the right extremity of the eyeball. Okay, like so. So basically what we are doing is we are, wait, this is not right. Yes, something like this. So frame 0 is looking left, frame 10 is looking in the middle, and frame 20 it's looking to the right. Okay, so we have something like this. Alright, next we want to select all the keyframes over here, and then going back to our DUIK Angela panel, we want to click on properties. Okay, so click on properties. So once that is done, right, and you go back to your timeline and you try to scrub the timeline, basically scrubbing means clicking on this playhead and moving it left or right, you notice that the animation doesn't play anymore. Okay. What happens instead is that if you were to select on this little dot over here, and if you were to shift it around, you'll notice that it is now controlling the movement of the eyeball, like so. Okay. Okay, so now we have mapped the X translation, okay, to the X-axis of this controller. Now we want to do the same for the vertical or the Y displacement as well. Okay, so similarly, let us create 3 keyframes for the Y position. So click on this stopwatch, click on the stopwatch below, go back to your first frame, click on this little diamond icon to create an additional keyframe in this frame. Go to frame 20, click on this, and then go back to frame 0, and you'll notice that when you're trying to shift it up or down, it doesn't really change. Okay, because as you can see over here, the values are in red, which means that it is controlled by something, by an expression. Okay, so we want to disable this connection. So what we can do is we hold down the Alt key and click on this stopwatch over here. Make sure that you are only selecting the Y position. Click on this stopwatch. It should release this. Okay, so same thing for this. Hold down the Alt key, click on this stopwatch. It should release this and it should become blue again. Alright, so let's go to our frame 0. Click on this Y and instead let us shift it upwards. Let's make sure that it's only on the first frame. So let us slide this to the top. Okay, similarly let us slide this to the top. Alright, then frame 10 is in the middle, and then frame 20 let us slide this to the bottom. Same for this. Okay, something like that. So we have this sort of animation going on. Okay, and then let us select just the keyframes for the Y position. Hold down Control, select the keyframes for the Y position of the other pupil as well. And then let's go back to this connector, change the axis from X to Y, and then do a big properties over here, connect properties. Alright, with that done, you will see that when you're scrubbing, nothing changes. But now you can actually use this to shift the eyes around. Okay, but one thing you might notice is that if let's say your direction is reverse, so meaning to say if let's say you are moving this circle, right, and the eyes are moving downwards instead of upwards, what you can do is you can go under here to reverse the values. So minimum becomes 100, maximum becomes negative 100. Okay, so I'll just do an example for you. Okay, something like that. And then now when I'm moving down, it's moving up. Okay, but this is just in the event that let's say your the way you wire it differently. You may need to tweak these values. Okay, so let me just shift it roughly back to where it's supposed to be again. Let me just enable this brown. Okay, so we have this eyeball setup. So let's go ahead and save it. Okay, maybe shift it more to the corner here. I think that's fine. Okay, next what we want to do is we want to do a blink. Okay, so that it makes animating the blink a bit easier. Alright, so let me just collapse this pupil layer. Okay, and let us create another connector. So let me just click on this X to close this, and click on this gear beside the connector again, and this time around I will create a slider. Instead of a 2D slider, I'll just create a slider. Click on this. Alright, and it should spawn a slider. Okay, select on this CBG and just move it maybe somewhere above this, and I can also scale it up. Like so. Okay, so I have this slider that is only sliding in one axis. Okay, so next I will want to create the blink animation. So for the blink, I will select on this I, R and L. Alright, and for blinking, maybe I'll use the scale parameter. Okay, and I would probably need to scale the pupil as well. So press S to bring up scale. Alright, so next thing I want to do, by default, the scaling parameter, right, is it is the X and Y scale values are kind of set to be uniform. So when I scale it, it's always proportionate, right? Okay, but in this case, when I'm trying to scale the eye to create a blink, right, I actually don't want to scale it proportionately. So I would just click on this constraint proportions button so that I'm able to scale it like this to close the eyes. Something like that, to close the eyes. Okay. So for now, maybe I will hide the brow as well to make it more clear. Okay, with that done, let us create a keyframe for all the scale values for the pupil and the eye on frame 10. Okay, so I created it on the wrong frame, that's fine. Let's shift it to frame 10. Okay, and go back to frame 0, create a keyframe. Go back to frame 20, create a keyframe. Okay, so with the keyframe setup, before we actually go in and scale, maybe we can change the pivot point, because you'll notice that the pivot point for this eye is not centralized in the eyeball. So press Y and just shift it to where you think the center of the eyeball should be. Okay, same thing for the other eye as well. Shift it to where you think the center point should be. Alright, and then let us scale this down. Maybe something like this is, I think, fine. Maybe 10. Okay, scale the other eye to maybe 10 as well. Scale this pupil to 10. Pupil to 10. Okay, something like this. And then, so when we animate the blink, it'll be something like that, right? And then on the extreme end, perhaps you want the eye to look like it's bulging. Okay, so maybe for bulging eyes, we'll just set both to be equal 120, I mean. Or we can maybe try a bit bigger for exaggeration. This one maybe we can set it to still 120. So same values here, 120, 130. There's no hard and fast number, you can try it out yourself. And then for the pupil, maybe 120 as well. Or maybe we go a bit higher. Let's see, 150. I think this is fine. 150. 150. Okay. Yeah, so we have something like this. Like, this is the other extreme end. It's like, you know, it's in a maze. This is closing. Okay, something like that. Alright. So select all the keyframes here and click on connect properties. Okay, with that done, if you scrub, nothing happens again. Okay, let me just collapse these layers. It's a bit neater. And if you click on this, you see that this does the blink. This makes the eye bulge out like so. Okay, so that is roughly it for the facial controls. Of course, we can go inside here and name this, make it nicer. Okay, so maybe we can type in blink. Let's change it to white, so that's a bit more obvious. We can maybe change the, let's use a standard Arial font. Arial black is fine. Set it to be a bit bigger. Okay, for blink, and then duplicate it, shift down. This is the pupil, maybe. Okay, something like that. I think that's good enough just for to make it a bit more clear what these sliders do. Okay, so let's move on and create the lip sync. Okay, so double click on the mouth shapes composition, which will bring you into the composition, and you can see all the layers that we have over here. Alright, next let us select all the mouth shape layers and go to the end of the timeline and rescale this time all the way to only 1 frame. Okay, so right now we only have 1 frame for all of these mouth shapes. Alright, next select all the layers again, right click, go to keyframe assistant and click on sequence layers, and do not check overlap, just click OK. Okay, so what this does is that it will sequence the layer like so. Okay, and I think we can trim this comp so that it doesn't extend all the way to 2 seconds or however long it is. So go to the last frame of the animation, press N. Sorry, it should be here. Press N. Okay, and right click and do a trim comp to work area, so you only have this, I think, 8 frames of or 9 frames of animation. Okay, go back to your original comp over here. Okay, you'll see that it is animating now, but we actually don't want it to animate, so do a right click, go to time, and click on enable time remapping. Okay, so what this means is that it will create a keyframe like what you see over here. Okay, but maybe we set a keyframe on frame 8. Okay, so let me just create a keyframe and just delete this last frame. Okay, so it ends over here. Alright. Okay. Let me just shift all these things upwards slightly just to clean up a bit. Okay, next what we want to do is we want to create a more visual sort of representation on our facial controls, so that it makes it easier for you to animate the dialogue sequence later on. Okay, easier for you to find the correct frame to use, okay, when you are animating the dialogue sequence later on. So to do that, let me first expand the Grumpy Guardian layers so that I know what are the what are the different mouse shapes. Okay, as you can see over here, the first one is AE, the next one is CD, G, K, N, Q, S, T, so on and so forth. Okay, so let us create some text over here that corresponds to this. Okay, so let me go to my text tool, and instead of single clicking, I can click and drag, okay, to create something like this. Okay, and now I will just type out what I see over here. So AE, then maybe I can turn on my caps locks. C, D, G, K, N, Q, S, T, X, Y, Z. Okay, and then R, and then B and M, and then T, H, and then O, U, L, F, and V. Okay, so we have something like this. We can make the text size a bit bigger. I think something like that is fine. Remember to turn off caps lock, if not it will not refresh. I think something like that is fine. Okay, and then let's close this and click on connector, bring up, click on the gear beside the connector and create another slider. Okay, so let's move that slider here, and now we want to rotate the slider, so press R to bring up rotation and type 90 so that it is going up and down, or rather it's rotated so that it's vertical. And let us bring up the scale of this. Okay, we will try to increase it so that it is actually we can also do it this way, right? So let us just make it slightly bigger. Okay, maybe not so big like that. I think that's okay. And then we click on this C slider and just go to the slider and make it a bit longer that way. Need to eyeball it a bit, or I can manually key in the values here. Probably 155. Bit bigger. Okay, let's work with this. Shift it in a bit. Alright. Okay, so next I have my mouse shapes. Select the keyframes that I've created just now using time remap. Okay, and then click on this properties. Alright, so now if I move up, like over here A, it will be showing the A mouse shape. Move down, C, it will be showing the C, D, G, K, N, Q, S, T, blah 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 mouse shape. Oh, this one should be like that. I have more here. Oh, okay. There's more here, so maybe I make it smaller. 62, 64. Okay, I think this size works. Okay, so right now it's showing the, let's see, A, C, this one. Okay, so let's just try to align it. R, B, and T, H, O, U, L, F. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so this will make it much easier to animate your mouse shapes later on. Okay, so with that, I think we are done with the rigging. So the elephant in the room is that if you are moving all these controllers around, you will see that it is a little bit sluggish. I mean, a little bit is an understatement. Okay, so there are a few ways that you can kind of optimize the file a little bit. Okay, so one way is all these controls that you have, right? You can actually select them. So let me just select all the controllers, not the text, just the controllers, and I can go under controllers, and I can click on this big controllers appearance, because right now all these controllers are actually shaped layers. Okay, so it does eat up a bit of resources when you are moving them around. So you can actually click on this big controllers, okay, which will kind of rasterize it so that it's pixel data instead of vector data. So in theory, it should make it a bit smoother to navigate. Okay, just a little bit. But do take note that once you click on big controllers, right, you lose the ability to move the controller around, to change the color of the controller. So do make those changes first before you bake. One other thing that you can do, right, is for the IK chains, you can click over here, and sometimes by default it will show these guides. You can actually go inside and hide them. In theory, it should make it a bit smoother, alright, if you hide the guides. So let me just go inside here and hide the guides. Okay, in theory, it should make it smoother. Okay, one last thing, when you are working in After Effects, right, to make rendering faster, it will sometimes save a lot of data onto your PC. Okay, and after a while, you may find that you don't have enough space on your PC. So you may want to go over here, Edit, Preferences, under Media and Disk Cache. Okay, once in a while, you may want to go inside here and empty the disk cache and clear the database and cache. You can see over here that I've enabled 47 gigs worth of space to be stored as cache. Okay, which is a lot of space, right? So the number might differ from your end, okay, but it will still be something that is quite enormous. Okay, so if you find that you don't have enough space in your PC after the start of this module, right, you know where it's being eaten up. So once in a while, it's a good idea to come inside here and click on empty disk cache, okay, to clear out this amount of space. Okay, so with that said, I think more or less rigging is done. Okay, we can move on to animation.